Ooh, man, there's a lot going on, ladies and gentlemen. You have Donald Trump imposing tariffs on foreign films. You have late night comedians getting their voices stifled in front of our eyes. You have right-wing media companies buying out studios, trying to merge with other studios. It's crazy. It's crazy what's going on. Lots of myths to be debunked. Lots of questions being asked here about the industry, about, how it even works in general. I'm sure, if you're outside the industry looking in, you probably have some similar questions. And I have the right man to ask those questions here as he makes his return to the podcast. And I'm going to tackle them one by one as we go beyond the take. What is up, everyone? It is me, actor, producer, and host of Beyond the Take podcast, Marc Chouen. I am joined by an old friend here, an old friend of the podcast, an old friend of Shot of Wrestling, the first podcast I've ever done. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Michael J Puddy. What is up, brother?
Long time no see, friend. How you doing?
Good, good, good. B Todd will be excited to see you back here, man.
Yeah. Once you fired me from the show, I was like, I'm never coming back again.
Right.
And now, now you're crawling on your hands and knees asking me to come on the show. Okay.
Like, please, please, I need help, Puddy. I need
I need
help.
content. I need content.
I need content.
Luckily, you caught me in a good mood because the Dolphins won, and so I'm in a good mood.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to talk about that. I didn't want to address the elephant in the room there. You wearing a Miami Dolphins jersey,
Hey,
specifically Tua.
how many wins do we have? One. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, better than the Jets.
No, it's not
Better
better than
than
the
the Jets.
Jets. Not better than the Jets. I wanted to lose that game. I wanted a good, better draft pick, but whatever. This is not a sports show.
No, it's far from a sports show. I feel like I just lost the majority of my audience right now.
That's what I do best.
Anywho.
That's what I do best.
Oh, your ratings vacuum. Thank you, buddy.
That's what I'm here for.
So,
That's what you told me when I got fired. It's fine.
no.
It's fine.
I miss you, man. I miss you. I love this. I miss this. Um, so why are you here? Well, I think it would be cool for like, you're not in the industry at all. I know you're a fan of TV shows and movies and whatnot. And I think it would be cool to hear from like questions about maybe some misconceptions that people outside of the industry have about what goes on inside our everyday lives, or to debunk any myths that be out there. Um, so yeah, I would love to hear what you got from me, buddy.
Oh, that's the only reason you got me on? Not to hang up, not to catch up? That's to
Oh,
use me for my. I thought we were gonna talk about like shoot the S, you know what I'm saying? Have fun. But you want to get straight to business. Okay, that's fine.
I mean, sure. What do you want to talk about?
That's fine. Too late now. This is going to be the hardest time of my life, but it's fine. I'll just do whatever Mark wants to do. It's the One and Only show, right?
No, 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 no. Okay, no. Let's talk. Let's talk,
No, it's
buddy.
fine. Um, I'm a big fan. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the Hollywood TV movies. Actually wanted to be a part of this industry. I went to school for TV and film production, but as we know, it's a BITCH to get into it once you know somebody. Even though I do know somebody, and here I am. Um, Also big fan of award shows, right? For some reason, I just love watching award shows, even how boring and mundane it is, self-serving. Some reason about seeing beautiful women, good-looking men dressed up to the nines, people celebrating an industry, what they bust their ass all year to do. We noticed this a couple of times with the Emmys, and of course, it's very, very popular at the award shows. As a man in Hollywood, as an actor, how do you feel about these actors coming forth with these political statements, whatever side they're on? They're using these platform as a way to get their political beliefs out there. Does it Hollywood tend to favor that because Hollywood is tend to be more of a liberal blue society, or do they just want to stay away from it, and not judge it altogether?
I mean, that's a good question, and I think honestly that just comes down to opinion. Um, I know. I mean, hell, even Timothy Chalamet's, speech at the SAG Awards when he talked about wanting to be the best, talking to be like Michael Jordan, talking to be Viola Davis, and I forgot what other actors he mentioned, but he wanted to be the best, and that was controversial. amongst actors. There are people like myself, I absolutely love that speech, and there are others that hated it. So like, even though that was non-political, I mean, other like actors, I mean, they're divided. They're people like everyone else. I mean, everyday life people feel certain ways about political speeches from actors. Like, who are you? Who are
Oh, true.
you to speak your mind? Who are you? Just shut up and act. Just like, athletes, shut up and play. There are definitely people out there that think that. But however, if like that athlete or if that actor says something more in line with that person's belief, like, yeah, yeah, I love that guy. So it's all subjective, really. I never have a problem with it. I think when I was younger, maybe I did. Um, but as I get older, as I enrich myself around this industry, became more involved, and decided to make this a career. I've definitely sang a different tune because at the end of the day, actors, they're people too. They're citizens as well. A lot of things that are going on affect them, and the difference between them and an average Joe is that they have a voice. They have a platform to speak their voice to maybe make a difference. So like for example, John Voight, right? I don't agree with him politically, but it's his right to say the things that he's saying, to have concerns about the country. I don't agree with it, and there are certain things that maybe go too far. As far as like during the pandemic, there's certain actors in the right wing group that have promoted, inaccuracies about the vaccine and whatnot. I took exception to that because certain things I don't think should be political, like science, but here we are. So I don't know. I think it's subjective. I think actors, it depends what actor you talk to.
We're wrestling fans. That's how we started.
Hmm.
So John Cena is playing a character. CM Punk is playing a character. Ray Ripley's playing a character. But yet we see them as those characters. We see them out in public. People cross the line, airports, talk about the hotels. Hey, Ray, hey, Punk, hey, John, even though John's his real name. But you don't do that with actors. You don't see people approaching actors and calling them by their characters' names.
Unless it's like a famous TV show,
Oh, okay.
where
That's a good point. Like Kramer.
like exactly.
Okay, that's
Who
a good point.
calls him? Who calls him Michael Richards? Like,
Seinfeld?
unless yeah, Seinfeld or like a really 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 big fan, but most people I'm sure come up to him and say Kramer.
What is the difference?
What is the difference? I think well, wrestling. I mean, their name isn't necessarily advertised. Like
No, you
I,
made a
I'm
good point. You made a good point. Screw that. Like, what talk about like a Kramer? How come some actors are known by their characters? Like, say like a Kramer. Say like a Steve Urkel.
yeah. I mean, that's another great example right
Jaleel
there.
White, thank you. Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee
So
Herman.
what's the difference between a character resonating with somebody so much so that we forget there's an actor behind them? Or someone like a Brad Pitt. We know it's Brad Pitt, and I can't think of one character he's played offhand except the guy from Troy. I forget his name.
Well, basically, what you're talking about the difference between a movie star and like a TV character, right? Or a character actor, right? And movie stars, especially before the days of streaming, it was a rarity for you to see them. You would see them in a big screen only, right? And this spectacle. And their names were advertised everywhere, like Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, like you have Julia Roberts, George Clooney, like the list goes on. Well, George Clooney is an exception to the rule because he was a TV actor first, but those names, there was gravitas behind them, and what they would have a movie like once a year, maybe twice if you're Nicolas Cage, like at that point in the 90s. Um, but to your credit, like Kramer, George Costanza. Ross from Friends, like, these TV characters, Urkel, they're in your TV every week as these characters. So like you have more connection. They're part of your family. They're part of your household. Like, you're with your family, eating dinner or just wrapping up dinner, or watching the TV screen together in your home. And they felt like family. It felt like you knew them. You didn't necessarily know the actor's name. You didn't care about the actor's name, but you care about the character. And they were because they were part of your lives to create moments and memories. You're laughing together as a family. Hey, remember the time when Kramer came in to slide in the room? Like, it becomes part of that, and that's why I think there's more, in my opinion, why there's more emphasis on the character there with the TV actor, and like a notable TV show, as opposed to a big star actor in a movie.
Makes sense. Great answer.
Thank you.
Leads me to a segue where Tom Hanks, one of the biggest actors in Hollywood right now, starred on TV.
Mm.
Bosom Buddies. Great show.
Yeah.
I don't think it's held up, but it's a great show. I got a notification that was the anniversary of some show that debuted, I think 15 years ago. For the name of the show, but Bradley Cooper was in it. I remember people talking about Hollywood was a launching pad. Look at George Clooney. People use TV to step up to Hollywood.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, TV was the minor leagues. Hollywood movies was major leagues. To be to go from a film actor to a TV actor looked like it was a demotion, a step down, if I'm
Yeah.
remembering stuff correctly.
Hmm.
It seems that's not the case anymore.
No.
What changed? I mean, obviously it's going to be streaming, but what about streaming changed the fact that now TV is where people should be or want to be? Look, Harrison Ford got nominated for an Emmy
Yeah.
for a
And
TV show.
I would dare say, if no one's seen that TV show, Shrinking is by far, in my opinion, Harrison Ford's best role. The most range I've ever seen him do.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good question. Streaming definitely played a large part of it. However, like, streaming wasn't necessarily the first time I saw a movie star go into a TV show. I'm trying to think what was the first one for me that I remember. I think it was Robin Williams. Robin Williams did some sort of TV show. I forgot what it was, honestly.
Oh,
Where I was,
yes. The early aughts with the advertising execs.
yeah, I forget.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was, I remember it was mind blowing to me. It's like Robin Williams doing TV. What?
Good,
Why?
good
What's
show.
happened to him?
He did 2 seasons. He was advertising executive with Sarah Michelle Gellar as his daughter. It was a good show. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, it befuddled me. Um, and I don't necessarily know if that's the first example of it, but it's the first example that I remember, and that was before streaming. I don't know. I mean, TV. Streaming played a big factor into this, and like it took a bit for SAG to understand that like streaming is not new media. They finally understand that now, but at first there was like a new media contract. It was just, they didn't know what it was going to be. They didn't necessarily know how big this was going to be. New media meaning like YouTube TV shows. Remember web series?
Mhm.
That's what SAG was equating Netflix to at the time when it first was launching off. As crazy as that sounds, because as we know today, Netflix is a big monster. I think there's better writing. Should I say that?
Pretty good.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think if you talk to a writer, they would tell you they have more fun doing TV shows because they can dive deeper into the universe there, as opposed to a movie. A movie, you have what, 2.5 to 3 hours max, maybe at most 3.5 hours if you're Martin Scorsese, to like tell a story. And even still, you're taking a fraction of the story. Like TV, you can go deep with these characters, and so of course the writing becomes more rich with that, and the budgets have ballooned up, especially with streaming. So like you're seeing like movie quality TV shows on your screen. And of course, the actors want to get involved. The actors, at the end of the day, even movie stars, they just want to tell a good story, and of course, get paid to do it. And things are changing now as we're talking about that. I mean, like, there's not necessarily a TV boom anymore. The TV boom is dead. Like peak TV. Like now, I'm seeing in my 10 years of doing this professionally, I am seeing the most feature films right now being filmed in New York and New Jersey. Not a lot of TV. I could probably count on my one hand how many TV shows are being filmed right now as we speak. And this is typically like prime time for filming TV shows. Usually there are a multitude of TV shows filming right now, and there aren't. So that speaks volumes about like the pendulum is swinging another way.
Is it called a pilot because there's hope it takes off, or is that a stupid joke?
That's a good question. I like that though.
Thank you. Like,
If
is
it's
that
not if it's not true, I hope it's true.
it makes sense, right? Like why you
Right?
want Broadway actors? You want to break a leg because you want to be in the cast. Like, are those stupid dad jokes, or are they legit insider terms in this industry?
That one I actually don't know. That one stumps me. I don't know the answer to that one, why it's called a pilot, but like I want to use that. That sounds awesome.
More than welcome.
Credit to Michael J Puddy.
I'll take it where I can get it.
Unless someone tells me otherwise, like, no, who is Michael J Puddy? That's a real thing spoken from like some legendary TV producer from back in the day.
We don't know, so I'll take credit for it.
Right.
I'll put on my epitaph.
Right. In my eyes, Michael J Puddy came up with it.
I'll take one. One.
You can put that jersey away, please. Thank you.
No, I'm right. I'm right. Maybe next season. So you just mentioned you can count on one hand, were how all the TV shows that are being filmed in New York and New Jersey at the moment.
Mhm.
A lot of stuff does get promoted here in LA, New York and New Jersey. But LA is La La Land. Is it harder to make it in the industry living in New York, or does every actor have to spend time in LA?
Great question. And I think a lot of people would tell you that, especially now with the age of self-tapes, it doesn't necessarily matter where you are, which I think it's true to a degree. It depends how far you want to go in this. Like LA, listen, LA's been hurting for a few years now, filming wise, right? Now a whole lot's going on there. However, my contacts, like my friends out there right now, from what I understand, tides are turning. Tides are definitely turning over there. Filming's about to get ramped up. Theater game is starting to get ramped up over there. It's a different beast. And from my experience out going to LA, like I've only done like what max being out there for like 10 days a clip. And I've gotten shit done every time I go out to LA. Like something happens, and there's just a different beast to it that is opposed to like New York, Atlanta, Vancouver, wherever, you know. So I think a lot of people would say no, it doesn't matter anymore. I will go the other way. I think you do eventually have to go some point to LA, whether it's to move there, not necessarily, but at least like, be bi-coastal, or at least, make some trips when you can to go over there, make the connections. Because listen, LA is still La La Land. LA is still the mecca of this industry. And I know a lot of people say otherwise. Oh no, they're filming in other countries, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Just like when there was a lot of filming going on in New York. Yeah, that's true. However, the decision makers of who gets cast in these bigger projects are in LA, and that hasn't changed. Hell, a major casting director in New York, because things are virtual now, moved to LA because castings are virtual. So your goal is you want to be in front of these people. A good chunk of people that live in LA are in the industry some shape or form, or they at least know someone. I think the number is like 80% or something like that. It's a staggering number. And so like if you're out there in the scene, part of this industry, part of this career, no matter if you're an actor, director, crew, whatever, a lot of it's being a socialite. A lot of it is going out there, mingling with people, and sure enough, you're gonna find a circle in LA. You're gonna find someone to help you with your career and form a genuine network. As I was talking with Marcia in the last episode, you do want to work with people that you genuinely like. And I know people talk about with LA, oh, there's a lot of fake people out there, and sure, yes, but there's fake people in New York too. Like what struck me with Marcia, what she said the last episode, was that in the United States, relationships seems to be more transactional, but that's not always the case. Yes, you're going to find that, but like find the right people for you that'll fuel you creatively, personally, and professionally. And I have found those people in LA as well. And I think yes. So to answer your question, yes, I think at some point in your career you definitely have to go to LA to live there. Up to you, but at least to go out there and do work.
This thing's for a while now to equate it to something I know about. I don't know how much it is true these days, but to be anybody in the wrestling business, you have to step foot in a WWE ring. So that's what I'm equated to. Like to get a chance to make it big, you should spend some time at least in Hollywood.
It's just something you need to do for your career. Like at least like have a presence, even like have friends out there, make contacts with people out there. At the very, very, very least, if you cannot be in the LA physically, on a regular basis, make friends with people out there, and keep in touch with them. And like sporadically when you can, because I know shit's expensive and no one wants to crash in a Boeing, like try to get there when you can. If you want to move there, great. Go for it. Be careful though. Be careful though. I listen, I think people now flipping the other end of this, because LA is a dangerous beast. Like you really have to know the game and how it works in order to do well out there. Otherwise, you'll be eaten alive, I think. Like so many times you hear about like, this pretty actress, this handsome boy from like Mississippi or whatever, you right? That they have the chops. Oh, they're talented. Like, big fish, small pond type of deal. I'm gonna go to LA, follow my dream. And they get eaten alive. They get eaten alive because it's not just about talent. That's the thing. It's not just about your looks. It's I would say for any young up and coming actor that lives in like a suburb or like, a state that's nowhere near the industry, go to New York. Go to New York first. Like really hone your chops there. I think some of the better act in the United States, at least, the better actors come from New York,
Damn
my
right.
opinion,
Damn right. Totally
because
agree.
of Broadway, because of the indie scene that's out here. Like you're really gonna learn the trade here. You're gonna learn how it goes here, and then I would say go to LA.
As you mentioned, I'm a big fan of TV. Not that big into reality TV, but there's one show I'm a big fan of for the last 20 something years, a show called Big Brother.
Oh, Big Brother. Okay.
Yeah. People are isolated for 3 months in a house, no contact with the outside world whatsoever. It's a social, psychological experiment. And it's always debating because every season's different. And some people want to know who's going to win this game. Person walks away with $750,000. This year we had a very competitive, what seemed like a competitive finale. And was some guy who won a lot of competitions, which is important for your resume, as they call it on the show, but didn't have a good social game. So the
Mm,
people who were voting for the winner, not many people liked him.
got it.
The person he was going against, everyone loved, but she had no real impact in the game in the sense of she barely won anything. She won one thing at the end, most important thing, obviously. But many people didn't see her as a threat to win anything. She was just what they call somebody in the background. That was part of her strategy. Where am I going with this? How important is is to make it in Hollywood? How important is it to relationships? How important is your skill? Like, what's more important? Like to be a good
Oh,
actor who is, oh, I can do Shakespeare, I can do this, I can do this, but I don't have good relationships with my co-stars. I don't have good relationships with other people in Hollywood. Or is somebody, oh, this person's a good person. I like this person. This person had a good tryout, but they aren't the best actor.
hmm.
How do you break that? I know how you do it in Big Brother now, but how do you do it in Hollywood as a career, as a lifestyle? How do you break down the best when it comes to relationships, the skills?
Ooh, great question.
Thank you.
Um, I'd like to say both, but that's not
Of
necessarily
course.
true. How many times have like you probably said yourself or a friend or whatever would say, "Man, how did that person make it? Man, that acting sucks. Like I could do better than that. Like I know you could do better than that." Right? And like you hear that time and time again. Look, I think a lot of actors, they especially when they go to like, a serious acting school and whatnot, they want to be the next Daniel Day-Lewis. They want to be the next Viola Davis, the next Meryl Streep. And lofty goals, admirable, but not everyone's Daniel Day-Lewis. Not everyone is Viola Davis. Not everyone is Meryl Streep.
Marc Chouen.
Mark Schwann. Well, there is only one you, right? At the end of the day. And what does that mean? Listen, to be the best in this game as an actor, just talent wise, that's subjective, really. Because I just listed three, in my opinion, greats, right? And I guarantee you there would be people in this that will listen and be like, oh, but what about so and so? What about Tom Hanks? What about Denzel Washington? What about blah blah blah? You know? So it's subjective on who the best really is. So you want to just what you want to do is focus on you and your craft. This is not necessarily sports. This is not like I'm Patrick Mahomes. I'm definitely a head above everyone else as far as talent level. Like it's not necessarily the case there. So you want to focus on being the best actor you can be, stay on top of your craft, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So I would say, career wise, relationships probably matter the most because I've said time and time again and people will probably disagree with me. But to do this professionally, like talent wise, you do have to be good at the very least. Like I feel like everyone who's doing this professionally is good. Otherwise, how are they working? Like at one point in their lives, everyone that's doing this professionally was probably the star of their community theater play or their high school play. So obviously we're all talented. But some people work better with others than the other actor. Some people they think they're too good, right? And they have their head up their ass and they act like an asshole, and that ruins relationships. And guess what? There goes your career. It's a small industry. As big as it is, it's a small industry. People talk. People talk all the time. It's your relationships that get you your next job. Oh, that person was professional. That person was great. That person, always had a positive attitude, blah, 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 easy to work with. I want to work with that dude again. I want to work with her again. Oh, that person is great. Oh, that person's, talented, but oh, that person's a dick, like, showed up hour late every single time, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, that person, like, talked to a PA a certain way. That person gave the direction pushback. Didn't take direction at all. Didn't take direction at all. That's a big one. That's a big one. That'll hurt.
Of course.
Like, I'm not going to name drop actors here, but there are certain celebrity actors that, whatever happened to that guy? There's a reason. There's a reason. It's not because of their talent. I'll tell you that. Because chances are they were a dick to the wrong people and they were consistently a dick to the wrong people.
Speaking of, Mark Schwann, spill some tea for me, please. As a Hollywood insider, you just mentioned somebody. Where are they now?
Oh boy.
What happened to so and so? right?
Hmm.
What is Hollywood's? Because I hear nothing about good stuff from people around the show. What is Hollywood's like real viewpoint on Dancing with the Stars? Because
Dancing with the
that's
Stars.
where most people land. Like, oh, what happened to that person? Oh, what's so and so? Oh, I thought they were. Oh, okay. This season with Dancing with the Stars, Corey Feldman. Like,
You know what's funny?
there's been some sort of stigmata about that's some of like other reality shows or celebrities are a part of. The Apprentice is one of them. I'm trying to think of
Mhm.
other celebrity shows. Is their view the stigmata of this is our last ditch effort? This is them trying to hold on to the last 10 seconds of fame.
It's funny. I have literally never had that conversation with anyone
That's
that
what I'm here
in
for. That's what
in
I'm
my
here for.
industry. We've never. So it's never come up. Maybe it's because of the fact, like, maybe they never want to wind up on there, or maybe it's a matter of like, oh, I do want to wind up there, but I'm nervous how people are going to perceive me. You know, for example, right? Me and you were involved in the indie wrestling circuit, specifically BCW, right? Bree Combination Wrestling, indie local promotion that's in New Jersey.
BRII combination wrestling.
There we go. Thank you, buddy.
That's what I'm here for.
So, like, there are people in my industry that I'm friends with that have very contrasting views about that, right? I have one very good friend of mine, successful actor, like, he's series regular on a Marvel TV show, et cetera, et cetera, right? And like, we always touch base and whatnot. And, I remember at one point he had just booked that role and I was congratulating him and like, dude, man, you're crushing it. I'm so happy for you, et cetera, et cetera. And he was saying like, dude, you're doing like indie wrestling. That's freaking amazing. I wish I was doing that. Like, what?
Wasn't
Like,
expecting that. Wasn't expecting that answer. Okay,
wasn't
nice.
expecting that. Now I was talking to a crew member, right? Someone that does he does indie films and whatnot, but he's done crew on bigger productions. And we're talking, and he's like, "Man, I'm so sorry you're doing the wrestling stuff, man. Like you're so better than that. You're so much better than that. As if I'm doing porn." like, like it was just like a pity thing. Like, oh, sweetie, no. Like, so I do wonder if like something with like Dance with the Stars or like, insert reality TV show here is in the same vein.
Traders. Traders show.
Traders.
Yeah.
Like it's funny, like you'll hear certain actors, like celebrity actors talk about, oh man, I wish I could do that. And chances are they may want to, but their reps will never let them.
They
That could be a
could.
very true thing.
Maybe. It's a good point. I know Conan interviewed Andy Richter. He's on Dancing with the Stars.
Mhm.
And this season, and he's like, yeah, he wanted to do it for a while, but some people were telling him no.
Right.
And now he's like, oh, I'm gonna do it now. My kids want me to do it. A lot of people do it for kids. Oh, Masked Singer's not the one. A lot of people do it for the kids.
Didn't Ryan Reynolds, wasn't he on Masked Singer once?
Ryan Reynolds, oh yeah, he was on Masked Singer in Korea, South Korea,
Right.
randomly.
Right. And like some actors are just too big to like, you know, to get perceived like, oh my God, they failed. It would be like a bigger deal, if anything.
Yeah, I saw a clip. I don't know if he was actually a contestant or just made a surprise appearance. Let's make
Right.
it clear, but he mentioned there's something about I'm talking about your agents. Like you
Mhm.
mentioned agents earlier. But we are talking before the show starts, talking about a manager.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's synonymous. You're telling me
No.
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 All right,
No, no.
so I don't know how many simpletons like me are listening to this. What's the difference?
Big difference. Well, first off, commission structure. Agent typically gets 10%, the manager gets 15. Um, but a manager, the biggest difference is a manager typically, right, is more hands-on with your career. They literally manage your career. They'll guide you where to go, et cetera, et cetera. As far as like, all right, this your goals, what's what we do, blah, blah, blah. Right. And there are some managers out there that will, submit you for roles, right? My manager does as well. Fantastic manager. I fucking love him. Bob Bloom, Step Forward Entertainment, is the man. And then agents, they're usually the ones that are submitting you for roles, negotiating a contract, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, but they're not necessarily as hands-on on your career as opposed to a manager. It's like the
Yes.
simplest way I could break it down. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Talking about somebody got 10%, somebody gets 15%,
Yeah.
right?
So manager gets a little bit more because they are, again, more hands-on. And sometimes, like, I haven't had it yet, but like, there could be times when a manager and agent can conflict, you know?
Okay.
Um, where a manager thinks like, hey, these are what your goals are, but this role might not be good for your career, for those goals, et cetera, what the agent's getting you. There could be cases like that. Again, I haven't had it. I've heard of some stories about that. But yeah, I mean, like, it's funny though. I'll say this. So I have a couple of different agents, one commercially, one theatrically, and then I have my manager. And it's funny. So like a lot of the stuff I get have been from my manager, right? So they both want to know like when I get an audition from the other type of deal. So like, if I get an audition from my manager, say I'm like, oh, cool, great. I'll let my agent know, like, hey, just give me a heads up. I got an audition from my manager for blah blah blah, right? And next thing you know, it'll be either that day or like within 24 hours, my agent will get me an audition. Like, hey, we got you this audition now. So it's almost like I don't necessarily know if it's like a competition type of deal, but I dig it.
Sometimes I see a lot of movie productions will take place somewhere in the United States, but
Oh
they're actually
God.
filming in Vancouver. Vancouver's a hot spot,
Hmm.
or somewhere in London.
Yep.
Instead of producing that in the soundstage, they're going on locations to make it look like somewhere else.
Hmm.
I saw you roll your eyes. You know I'm going with this. Breaking to either today, was it today or yesterday? I don't know when this is going to air. The President of the United States is now imposing a 100% tariff on films produced outside the United States.
Yep.
This might be too early to fully answer this question, but what does that mean going forward?
Oh, I would love for the president of the United States to answer that fucking question. Mr. fucking genius over there.
No,
Who
that's not about being politics. We're just asking you a simple question.
no, 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 no. It's stupid because like first off, there is definitely legal ground where this he can't do this, right? So this is definitely a challenge in the courts if he does proceed to do this because hey, once again, this is a Truth Social post. A president's not mandating the country through Truth Social. He's got to do more official than that.
Just when, sorry.
But here's the thing. I mean, like, it's so vague. It's so vague. Like, so if a movie so happens to be filmed in the United States, but their post-production team is out in London, does that get 100%
Mhm.
tax?
Okay.
Does, say they're filming most of it, 75% in the United States, and they have to do this scene, they absolutely have to do this scene from the Eiffel Tower in France, right? So, like, maybe let's just say like they do like 5% of the filming in Paris, right? Because they need to get the shot. Is that getting tariffed?
So I was wondering, that's what I'm asking. Yeah, 'cause that makes no
And
sense.
I know specifically he's talking about films. What about TV shows?
Hmm.
Like they have probably the same budget as a lot, maybe more than a lot of these movies right now. Is that getting tariffed? Like it just makes no sense. He's just saying shit that makes no sense. And of course, a lot of us when we initially hear this, we get in a tizzy here about it. But like, when you start really thinking about it, it's like this makes no sense. Like, and plus there's legal ground here where he can't do this. It could be challenged. It could be challenged. And I don't know what that will mean yet. But I do know it's not going to be good for the industry. I do know that like, you know. ultimately it's probably going to come down to, the moviegoer. It's just another reason for moviegoers or people who love movies not to go to the movie theater.
Mhm.
Because now their tickets gonna skyrocket because of this tariff. I said on Threads the other day, I'm like, he either knows this is going to hurt Hollywood and he's being vengeful about it, or he has no idea what the fuck he's doing. Either way, it's not good.
Speaking of, what I know the overall public opinion about what Hollywood felt about the cancellation of Stephen Colbert and the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel.
Mhm.
Is there any long-term tension or nervousness about going forward about what writers can write or what you guys can shoot? Is there any fear or backlash about that?
Of course there is. Like it's because these are jobs we're talking about. It's not just Colbert. It's not just Kimmel. It's the writers in there. Like
Mhm.
Colbert has what 200 writers on his staff there,
I don't know about
and that's just writers. Think about like the rest of the crew that's involved in the job. Same with Kimmel. Same with any late night TV show. And now on top of that, you have Skydance, which is right leaning that bought Paramount, right? So how much is that going to affect like programming and whatnot? How much is that going to affect diversity? Like shows like, including like diverse actors in the LGBT community. What type of stories are they going to be allowed to tell?
are they trying to buy Warner Brothers too?
They are. And that's another thing I was about to get into.
Monopolies?
Right. And people are asking, "Oh, why is the industry the way it is right now? Is it the strike? Is it AI?" Yes and yes, but it's also this, these mergers that are happening. Like the less companies you have out there, the more they merge together, the less projects you're going to have and the less jobs you're going to have. So it's worrisome because they are stifling voices. I give credit to South Park because they signed that huge mega deal
Mega deal.
right before the episode, and it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yep.
You're gonna cancel? So we got paid.
If you've never been a South Park fan or abandoned South Park, this is the season to go back to it.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah.
killing
Oh,
it. Every episode's just banger
e-
after banger after banger.
every episode's a big fuck you,
Yeah,
and they could get away because again, what are they gonna do? Get canceled? All right, cool. I got all this money. You have no choice but to put us on.
spoiler alert, the first term he was portrayed by a character on the show who embodied him. So now they're curious, like, how are they going to do Trump this season? If you know, you know. Nailed it.
Oh, absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And it's needed, honestly, right now. And I think at this point, they're the only ones that could get away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been doing this. It's part of who they are because they don't make fun of Republicans. They don't make fun of right-wing ideology. They make fun of left and liberal ideologies as well. So they're just
Well,
kind of in
but
the
in,
middle.
in fairness, so does late night television, though. Like, how many times did
Mm.
Colbert make fun of Biden?
And
Like,
yeah, no
it's,
joke.
hey, that was good. That was a
Thank
good
you.
one. It's just like, you have this man who decided to run for president because of a joke that Obama said. The
Seth
man
Meyers,
Seth Meyers, yeah, excuse me, at Obama's
um, the thing that's no longer around.
yeah.
White
Obama said
House
something too though.
Correspondents' Dinner.
Obama said something too though, I thought.
Probably. Obama killed it. Obama's the best.
But
Comeback.
like because the man can't take a joke, you have this shit going on.
Yeah, Kimmel said it
And
best. Yeah.
it is frightening, it's alarming. And then now you have TikTok as well being supposedly bought by Oracle,
Hmm.
which is another right-wing leaning group. So that's another possible outlet where voices are going to be suppressed, like Twitter. So there's a lot of concern. Like I'm concerned, for sure. Being a Latino man myself, like, are there going to be jobs open for me? Am I going to be viewed as a diversity hire? Like, it's worrisome.
Well, there's no easy way to transition out of this, but I am running short on time. My battery's about to die. So I just got a question.
Sure.
You touched upon movies. You said TV is kind of drying up. You even talked about porn. Give me the totem pole here of how society views movies, TV, daytime soap operas, and Broadway. Is there a hierarchy, or is this day and age you'll take what you can get?
Amongst the industry right now,
Yeah.
depends on the actor, man. It depends where you are at your career as well. You know,
That's, that's,
I, I,
that's fair.
I have certain friends that like, they are definitely above the point where they need to do like daytime soaps, so which is not as big a thing as it used to be. Um, where they could do like, major TV roles. And it depends what type of TV roles you're talking about as well. You're talking about co-stars, you're talking about guest stars, you're talking about recurring or lead. Where you are at your career does matter. Like if you've done, for example, a movie, yeah, you had a big part in a major movie of like a celebrity, chances are you don't want to go for a co-star in a TV show, right? A co-star meaning you have 5 lines or less, but you probably want to go for like, a good recurring role. You probably even like depending on what the guest star role is, you might want to do that. Is a recurring guest star. It all depends. Broadway for sure would definitely be at play, but they wouldn't be doing daytime soaps. Now, if you've done, for example, like if you are a co-star actor, not I don't want to say co-star actor, but if you've done a few co-stars and maybe a guest star, right? But there's a nice meaty role for soap opera, right? Where you could play again a regular part. Yeah, you might want to go for that. You might want
Such
to do
as
that.
such as Jack Gay Harry on Days of Our Lives.
Sure. Sure.
Wow. Okay. I guess I'm throwing my age then. Okay.
But like, yeah, I think it all depends where you're at your career, and like it's not necessarily like I feel like back in the day in the '90s it was more like kind of like that, like oh no, well you first you should do Broadway or you should do daytime soaps and then you go into TV. It's not necessarily like that anymore. Like Broadway. I mean, at this point, like anyone will do. Like you see celebrities doing Broadway all the time. Hell, Denzel Washington and Jake Gyllenhaal just recently did Othello on Broadway.
George Clooney.
Uh, George Clooney. A lot of people would say, like, reps would say, especially if you're not like a triple threat, like a singer, dancer, and actor, like, sometimes you have to kind of earn your way back to doing Broadway. You make your money doing a TV or film, and then like, all right, you're not going to get as much doing for Broadway, a straight up play. So like, you've made your money, now you could afford to like, fuel your craft here. I've heard that route before. And you see it quite a bit with celebrities. Like they could afford just to like, oh yeah, yeah, no, I'll take like, less pay to do a off-Broadway show.
Going back to the wrestling thing, you get released from WWE, the pinnacle. They go down to indies. They go down to a lower tier such as TNA, and then they revitalize their career and come back up to the mainstream.
Well, it's not even that though. I mean, it's Broadway is not Broadway is a fucking beast, man. Like it's not necessarily like, indie level, whatever you want to call it, is equation to wrestling. Um, Broadway, hell, I mean, Phantom of the Opera, for example, has grossed more money than the Star Wars franchise. Think about that. Book of Mormon, fucking killing it.
Very
You
true.
know, like you have these high-end spectacle Broadway shows that bank more money than you can possibly imagine, right? So like that's what you see Broadway, you put in that like oh they come back like like a wrestler would to the indies. Not the case. Not the case at all. Specifically off Broadway or off Broadway, actors, most of them got into this because, they do love performing live. There's a lot of like great theater out there.
Well, we
And
saw we saw Liev Schreiber together off
exactly.
Broadway. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, man, he definitely didn't make as much money as he would for like, playing Sabretooth or anything that, or for the movie he was doing Woodstock. You know, it's definitely a fraction of that, but they do it because they love performing. They love performing live. You know, there's a big difference there. It's not as much money as it would be in film and TV, but at that point, they don't necessarily have to do it for the money. They do it for the passion, and they still get paid. I mean, I'm not saying they're getting paid peanuts, but compared to what they're used to getting on a bigger budget production, not as much.
This has been fun. My time is kind of almost up here, but it's been fun. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, great
Th
questions all around, buddy.
Thanks for unfiring me for a day.
No, I'd love to have this like a recurring thing though. Like, I think we only touched a fraction of the misconceptions or questions that people would probably have about this industry. Um, it was fun. It was good to reunite on this, buddy.
What fruit is Georgia known for?
Peach, right?
What's a female dog called?
Oh, come on.
Okay. It's again, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Well, thank you, Michael J. Puddy, for joining us. I miss you, man. And thank you guys for tuning in. I hopefully Putty addressed any questions you might have. If he didn't, DM us by all means at Beyond the Take Pod and all forms of social media. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following our journey here. Hopefully, it's been an inspiration for you. Hopefully, it's been educational for you. And hopefully, it's been entertaining. We try to, at least. But much love, everyone. This is Marc Chouen. Cheers.